Ujambo, habari gani? Mimi niko na wewe moja kipenda happy Sabbath siku as everyone today. Seventh day Sabbath siku. One more time. Read Book of Life. We're starting on chapter 13 from Genesis, first book of Moses. Have a man Steve Harvey said, read chapter 13. Then Abram went out from Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and A E. Yeah. Ah. A-I. A-I. To the place of the altar which he had made there at first, and there Abram called on the name of the God. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan. There that it was well watered everywhere before the God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the God, like the land of Egypt as you go towards Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the God. And the God said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, I will give to you and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants could also be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the God. And it came to chapter 14. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arach, king of Lasar, Shedor Laomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bir, i.e., Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinar, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these joined together in the valley of Sidim, that is the salt sea. 12 years they served Dor La Omer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Shedor La Omar, La Omer, and the kings that were with him came and attacked the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Amim in Shavet Ki Ra'aim, and the Horites in their mount of Seir, as far as El Haran, which is by the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to Ain Mishpah, that is Kadesh, and attacked all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazezon Tamar. And the king of Zodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Zebim against Shedor Laomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of nations, and Ra, the king of Shinar, and Erioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Sibim was full of asphalt pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. Some fell dead, and the remainder fled to the mountains. Then they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and went their way. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. Then one who had escaped came and told Abram that Hara, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Ner, and they were allies with Abram. Now when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He divided his forces against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley, after he returned from the defeat of Shedor Laomer and the kings who were with him. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand, and he gave him a teat of oil. Now the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the purses and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I raise my hand to thee, God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing from a thread to a sandal strap, and that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich, except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. Chapter 15. After these things, the word of the God came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. But Auburn saw, what Auburn said, man, let me slow down. Maybe I'm going a little bit too fast. Let me take a sip. The God came to Auburn in a vision saying, do not be afraid, Auburn. I am your shield, your exceeding great reward. But Auburn said, the God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is a li'e thou thy master. Then Abram said, look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born is my one. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the God came to him, saying, this one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. Then he brought him outside and said, look now toward heaven. Where's you supposed to look, baby? And count the stars if you are able to number them. And he said to them, so shall your descendants be. And he believed in the God, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. Then he said to him, I am the God who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit. And he said, the God, how shall I know that I will inherit? So he said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Then he brought all these to him and cut them in two, down the middle, and placed each one opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds in two. And when the vultures came down on the carcasses, Abram drove them away. Now when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Then he said to Abram, know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. Yeah, chapter 15, Genesis, Moses, book 1. Yeah. Know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. Wow, brothers and sisters, ha 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 ha. The Willie Lynchism got to stop with us. Yeah, one more time. Ain't we in a strange land? Serving all everybody, serving the world, because the world exists not without us. And also the nation whom they serve, I will judge. Afterward, they shall come out with great possession. And as for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace, and you shall be buried at a good old age. But in the 4th generation, they shall return here. For the iniquities of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to pass, when the sun went down and it was dark, that behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a burning torch that passed between those places. On the same day, the God made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your descendants I have given this land, from the region of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The Canaan, the Canaanites, the Canaanites, the Cammonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, see now, the God has restrained me from bearing children. Please go into my maid, perhaps I shall obtain children by her. And Abram heeded the voice of Sarai. Then Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. So he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. Then Sarai said to Abram, my wrong be upon you. I gave my maid into your embrace. And when she saw that she had conceived, I became despised in her eyes. The God judge between you and me. So Abram said to Sarai, indeed, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please. And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. Now the angel of the God found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from the presence of a mistress, Sarai. The angel of the God said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the God said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for multitude. And the angel of the God said to her, behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the God has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Then she called the name of the God who spoke to her. You are the God who sees, for she said, have I also seen him who sees me? Therefore the well was called Be'ah La Ha'i Roi. Observe, it is between Kadesh and Bahareh. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Chapter 17. When Abram was 99 years old, the God appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Almighty God. Walk before me and be blameless, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your descendants after you, and their generations, for an everlasting covenant to be the God to you and your descendants after you. Also, I give to you and your descendants after you the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession. I will be their God. And the God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. One more time. Genesis, first book of Moses, chapter 17, verse 2. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. Direct descendant, Abraham. And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised. Every male child in your generations, he who was born in your house or brought with money from any foreigner who is not your descendant. He who was born in your house and he who was brought with your money must be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, that people shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Then the God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. As for Sarai, I gotta read that again. Then the God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, Sarai, your wife. You shall not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her and also give you a son by her. Then I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old, and shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child? And Abraham said to the God, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. Then the God said, no, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time next year. And he finished talking with him, and the God went up from Abraham. So Abraham took Ishmael, his son, all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male amongst the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of the foreskins that very same day as the God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very same day, Abraham was circumcised, and his son Ishmael, and all the men of his house, born in a house were brought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. Then God appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, and he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the ground and said, my God, if I have now found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Oh, my bad. And he said, my Lord, 3 men, my bad. He said, my Lord. Yeah, that's right. I crossed that out because I don't call my God the God, a God, the Lord. Anyway. And he said, my Lord, if I have now found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the trees. And I will bring a morsel of bread that you may refresh your hearts. After that you may pass by, inasmuch as you have come to your servant. They said, do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said quickly, make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. Oh, yeah. When I was growing up, you know, not cornmeal, flour and water, they call them whole cakes. Right. Fine meal, needed to make cakes. Yeah, okay. See, we don't teach our babies about whole cakes and how to work cornbread, but tacos and burritos, okay. But it's, then again, like you said, 400 years, it's almost time. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and young good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hastened to prepare it. So he took butter and milk and the calf which he prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, where is Sarah, your wife? So he said, here in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure? my being old. And the God said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I bear a child since I am old? Is anything too hard for thee, God? At the appointed time I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. Then the men rose from there and looked toward Sodom. And Abraham went with them to send them on the way. And the God said, shall I hide from Abraham? What am I doing? Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of thee, God, to do righteousness and justice, that thee, God, may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And thee, God said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very great, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me. And if not, I will know. Then the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the God. And Abraham came near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Supposedly, suppose, excuse me, suppose there were 50 righteous within the city, would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? So the God said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, indeed now, I, who am but dust and ashes, have taken it upon myself to speak to thee, God. Suppose there were 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all the cities for lack of 5? So he said, if I find there 45, I will not destroy. And he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there should be 40 found there. So he said, I will not do it for the sake of 40. Then he said, let not the God be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 should be found there. So he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, indeed now, I have taken upon myself to speak to thee, God. Suppose 20 should be found there. So he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Then he said, let not thee, God, be angry, and I will speak. But once more, suppose 10 should be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. So the God went his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Chapter 19. Now the 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, when Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, hear now, my lords, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet that you may rise early and go on your way. And they said, no, but we will spend the night in the open square. But he insisted strongly, so they turned into him and entered his house. Then he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now before they lay down, the men in the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every quarter, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them carnally. So Lot went out to them through the doorway, shut the door behind him. And they said, please, my brother, do not be so wickedly. So now I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please, let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. And they said, stand back. And then they said, this one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we will do worse with you than with them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door. Then the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here, son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whoever you have in the city, take them out of this place. For we will destroy this place because the outcry against him has grown great before the face of the God, and the God has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who had married his daughters and said, get up, get out of this place, for the God will destroy the city. But to his sons-in-law he seemed to be joking. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, arise, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his two daughters, the God being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. So it came to pass, when they had brought them outside, that he said, escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. Then Lot said to them, please, no, my lords. Indeed, now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have increased your mercy, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil overtake me, and I die. See now, this city is near enough to flee to. This city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. It is not a little one, and my soul shall live. Is it not a little one? Excuse me, let me redo that. See now, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is little, and it is a little one. Please let me escape there. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? And he said to him, see, I have favored you concerning this thing also, in that I will not overthrow this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Then the God rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the God out of the heavens. So he overthrew these cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the God. Then he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass when the God destroyed the cities of the plain, that the God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his two daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his two daughters dwelt in a cave. Chapter 30, Genesis, first book of Moses. Chapter 19, verse 30. Lot. And he and his two daughters dwelt in a cave. So Lot would be like what, one of the first cavemen? Interesting. Now, the first one said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come into us as the custom of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night, and their firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. It happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, in that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Then they made their father drink wine that night also, and he and the younger arose and lay with him. and he didn't know when she lay down or when she rose. And both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger she also bore a son and called his name Ben Ami. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. Chapter 20. And Abraham journeyed from there to the south and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur and stayed in Gerar. Now Abraham said of Sarah, his wife, she is my sister, and Abim Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But the God said, excuse me, put a light on the subject. There it is. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, indeed, you are dead men because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, God, will you slay a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And even she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hand, I have done this. And the God said to him in a dream, yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. For I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch it. Wow. Did you see that? See, that's why I try to tell you, man, you never know how he gonna work this man. Man he wasn't trying to do the man at all. Look, wow. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, and you and all who are yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning, called his servants, and told all these things in their hearing, that the men were very much afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, why have you done this to us? How have I offended you that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds to me that are not to be done. Then Abimelech said to Abraham, what do you have in view that you have done this thing? And Abraham said, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me on account of my wife. But indeed, she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it came to pass when the God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, this is your kindness that you should do for me. In every place, wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah, his wife, to him. And Abimelech said, see, my land is before you, dwell where it pleases you. And then to Sarah he said, behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody. Thus she was rebuked. So Abraham prayed to the God, and the God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants. Then they bore children. For the God had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Yeah. What did I start at 13? So that's 7. I was 7. I'm going to leave it at 7. Started at 13. We're at 7. I want to thank you for whoever's, been, checking it out, so on and so forth. But, one more time, this is more, I'm doing it Because I'm tired of people asking me, what is the book of life? So, this is the book of life. This is the interpretation of the book of life. This is the interpretation that the God of God gave me. The understanding when I ask him, who am I? He tell me, I'm just like, go to the library. I'm nobody. This Jesus guy, 13 white guys. Come on, man. I was talking to a white guy this morning. We was talking about that 13 white guys get my black ass in heaven. But what heaven am I going to? There's no reflections of me. You want me to go to a heaven, there's no reflections of me. Okay. So what am I believing in? Certainly not myself, because there are no reflections of me. What am I believing in? What do you want me to believe in? Do you want me to believe in a concept of going somewhere where there's absolutely no reflections to my face? No reflections to me, it didn't look like me, and this is my way to heaven. Not. As always. Asante sana. Mimi nikupenda na wewe, wewe nikupenda na mimi, moja kupenda. Peace.